So I get asked a lot by newer photographers coming, well, not necessarily newer photographers, but just I get asked a lot by up and coming photographers about flash and speed lights and which ones they should get because they're moving into shooting stuff on big lights, blah, 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 blah. So my answer is usually always the same. Depends on what your budget is, and make sure you get one that fits with your camera. Lots of people overthink it. There's an awful lot of settings and stuff, but I'm just going to really quickly go through what I use on commercial shoots to create images like this. And then hopefully that'll give you an idea to what to go out and buy. And anytime anybody now ever asks me about what speed lights and what flash they should get, I'm going to link them to this here video. So I've got a it's not cheap, but I've got a kind of mid-level Yongnuo.
This is the Canon 50mm f1.8 prime lens. This is also known as the Nifty 50 and is the most popular and best-selling lens in the world. This is the Yongnuo 50mm f1.8.
Yongnuo flash. It's a YN560 version 4, I guess, IV, whatever that is. It's just pretty straightforward. It's simple. It's got a lot of different functions. But the thing you need to look at for flash, especially if you're starting out on speed lights, is ETTL or TTL. What that means is basically these things are designed so that when you hit your shutter button, there's a pre-flash. And what that pre-flash does is it sends a little signal and a flash of light out to your subject, comes back, and then the flash works out what speed and what power and stuff it needs to be. Because half the problem with flash and with speed lights and with any big lights when you're stepping into that world is that it's really hard to figure out like how strong that light needs to be, how you balance it off with everything else. So actually what happens is people get really muddled by it, and they have these either very, very bright images or everything's very, very dark and there's nothing in the middle. And what ETTL does, or TTTL, is it basically just turns everything into auto for you on these flashes because they can be a little bit complex. So if you're looking for a flash, definitely look for ETTL. I don't spend a lot on speed lights personally because I don't use them enough to warrant it. I probably do, I don't know, 5 or 6 shoots a year on speed lights where I really need them, or on strobes where I really, really need it. So it's not something I use in. I've got literally like the worst sore throat ever. I came back from Qatar with the worst sore throat, and it's not shifted. And it's really cold here in the UK now, so I'm like getting even worse. I don't spend a lot of money on these because I don't warrant them. There's no need for me to kind of spend hundreds and hundreds of pounds on one because of the volume of work that I shoot on them. What I do have with this one, which is a little bit different, which if you're a bit further down the track with lighting, is quite a good one. If you want the best quality light, take this off the top of your camera, put it on a lighting stand. And the best way to control that is to get this little adapter here. So that's the TX version 2 manual flash controller for this flash. They are usually bought and paired together, so if you go down that route, make sure you get one. What this basically does is it goes on the top of my camera, and it allows me to control this flash, which might be 20 feet away on a light stand or whatever, and it allows me to control it all off the top of my camera, so I've not got to keep going backwards and forwards. This thing's a godsend. Can't rate this high enough. My one isn't ETTL, purely on the basis that when I bought it, I was replacing one that had broken, and I was ordering in a hurry and didn't realise it didn't have ETTL on because I was rushing. And actually, for me, doing what I do these days with the volume of kind of work I do under lights, it doesn't actually make a great difference because I can control it on this. And a whole bunch of stuff that's now going to be going through screen for you to see, like images wise, it's just shot on these using this system and me working out how strong and how light I like it. So what I tend to do is I subscribe to what I call the Joel Grimes theory of lighting. If you don't know who Joel Grimes is, definitely check him out because he's really, really cool. He's got some very, very awesome images that he takes from very, very simple lighting setups. They're not very complex at all. But what he does is he works in manual. And if I'm using speed lights, I tend to, or working in manual lights, I tend to as well. So what he'll do is he'll go around about 160th to 200th of a second for his shutter speed. He goes to about f7.1 ish, depending what he's doing, and then his ISO is set as low as he can get it, so he gets these nice soft, nice clean, kind of non-grainy images. And that's sort of as set as low as you can go at ISO 100. So like those three settings combined with a really good light is great, and that's what I work on. So any images that you see going through the screen on the video, that's all shot at around about those kind of settings, and then I just power the light up and down depending on what I want. The other way to do it with ETTL, if you want that really simple kind of dark background, light subject kind of look, is put your camera into shutter priority mode, dial it into about 250th of a second, stick the flash on ETTL, and then underexpose your camera by a stop, so come down a full stop, and then overexpose your flash in ETTL, which you'll be able to do if you read the instructions, etc. I'm not going to show that, but overexpose that by a stop. So you're a stop under on the camera and you're a stop over on the flash. What that does is that will create you a nice bright subject where you shouldn't lose too much of the detail and stuff, and it'll darken down the background. That's the easiest, simple way you can do this. So if you ask me for flash tips on what to buy, go out, buy whatever you think's in your budget. You haven't got to spend a lot of money. If you can afford it, if you can stretch to it, and if you can find a good one for your camera brand that fits your model of camera, and that is imperative, get one with ETTL or TTTL, just because it's easier just to get started with it and start lighting. Otherwise, just go for a nice one with a decent digital display on the back. Mine's got a pretty cool digital display on the back. I have had ones in the past which just basically ramp the power up and down. You've got like a little LED thing. They're okay, but they're not as good as being able to kind of like trigger these from different positions and with a flash controller, etc. So yeah, they're definitely worth looking at. They're not that expensive in reality, but you can get some cool looks with them. And if anyone ever asks, I'm going to send them to this video because I get asked all the time about flash. See you soon. Yeah. There's a thing on my lens.